Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. What I want to talk about today are three discontinued Rolexes that, in my opinion, had the most interesting and the best horology and design that Rolex has before then or since then, really. So let's talk about them. Now, this is not I'm not beating up on Rolex. I'm simply saying the ones that I like. It's the difference. Okay. First one is the Faraday cage. They came out with I'm sure the year, they came out with a watch called the Milgauss, which stood for 1,000 Gauss. And it had a Faraday cage. The movement was a 3131, and it had a ferromagnetic soft iron inner cage that was surrounded, was on the inside of the case. And what this would do, it would help keep magnetic forces from going in there and goofing up the timing. Now, I got the two of the watches they had it in the Air King 116900 as well as the Milgauss. I like both of them, but for some reason, I'm still not sure myself why I like the Air King the best. One was perhaps because it was I think it was about $1,200 less than a Milgauss. I thought, you're getting the same movement. And but that's neither here nor there. I like both of them. But that was one of the things that they had at one time, and both of them have been discontinued. They put a different movement in the Air King now. The Air King has, I think, what is it called? The Oyster Perpetual, sort of the entry-level Rolex movement. Okay, that's one thing. Now, without being mean-spirited, let me say something about my view of Rolex watchmakers. Some years ago, I saw a documentary about these kids in India who were, terribly poor, who they shackled to looms, and the poor kids had to work in these looms all day. And they literally, the loom owners bought them, and that's how, from dire poverty, and then they would shackle them to the looms, and they were stuck there. That's the way I feel about Rolex watchmakers. You have these very talented guys and gals, watchmakers working at Rolex, but they don't let them do anything interesting. They just like the same thing. But every now and then they get loose and they do some interesting things. There was one of the graduates I met at Rolex school, and I saw some of the things this guy did. Just fantastic. For the most part, I don't get to see it. Now, this next one is one of my favorite. Of course, it was, deep six with it. Love this watch. The Yacht-Master II. I don't know what the Yacht-Master regular does, but the Yacht-Master II has this incredibly interesting movement. A regatta is a fairly complicated type of race, a sailboat race. And they use three cannons. There's one for doing one thing and the boats get ready, and then there's another cannon for something else, and finally there's a cannon for starting the regatta, the race. And so Rolex made a watch to do that, and it was called the Yacht-Master II. And looking at the mechanisms for it was just wonderful. I mean, how they used snail cams and heart cams and all kinds of other different, really interesting mechanisms for this. And and even before they got rid of the Yacht-Master II, a lot of Rolex fans they didn't care for it. No idea why. One of my other favorites. I got three favorites, and these are the three. One is the Air King, and the other one is the Yacht-Master. And the final one is a Cellini Rolex Prince. Here's another one that Rolex, the guys got loose from being chained and off they went. They did this wonderful watch. First of all, they made a shape movement, and it was hand wound 70-hour reserve, which is pretty good for a watch this size, 4 hertz, and also it's a certified COSC chronometer. But that wasn't the only thing they did. They had the front of the watch had a certain guilloche or a certain style, and then on the back they had the same one. They had hobnail. They had sort of this sunray. They had all these different ones. The two basic faces. One was the squarish one, or the one on the left, and then there was the round ones. And I mean, it wasn't just the fact that they had the shape movement and a hand wound, but they also was one of the only Rolexes I know of where you could actually see the movement, and there was something in there worth seeing. They had these finger bridges coming over, and just a beautiful movement they made. So anyway, but ever since then they've been they got rid of these. So anyhow, those are my 3 favorite Rolex Horology overall. Let me know what you think. It's an opportunity to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.